Welcome to the Nick, Dick, and Paul show. This week, we are going to be talking about consciousness, AI, and who knows where this is going to lead. I'm going to start with a question.
All right. Why is that funny?
Paul started laughing.
Why are you laughing?
Yeah, why are you laughing? Are you conscious?
Yeah.
No. I just became unconscious.
Yeah.
I think that's what happened.
Man, you were an easy. You should go to
Comedy
sit in the
clubs?
front row at a comedy
I'm like
show.
a perfect audience.
Yeah, you really
look.
are.
What are you laughing at? I didn't tell my
Oh,
joke
look,
yet.
he's
I was
making
thinking about something from
Oh,
last
look,
week.
the guy on stage is making a funny face.
It's because it felt very TV.
It did?
Yeah.
It's good.
Huh.
That's good. We need that for this.
You may need that.
For people to believe that we're real.
I didn't get TV out of that.
Now tell me what you think.
hesitating question. Okay, let's have the. Come on, let's get going.
Let's just jump right in. Dick, you want to start this?
We didn't jump right in.
We don't even have a thing.
We literally did the opposite of jumping right in. This is the longest
We jumped right sideways.
pre-question preamble.
Is AI conscious?
No.
In any? Okay, well that concludes our show. Thank you for listening.
I think people are barely. People. I think people.
People aren't conscious?
I just think they allocate more sentiment toward how remarkable their brain is and how much thinking they're doing and reasoning they're doing than they're really doing. They're conscious, of course. That's sort of, if you're a Sam Harris acolyte, that's all. Do we say acolyte or acolyte?
Acolyte.
Thank you. All right.
All right. So
Arclight.
the reason this came up was because
Hold on, I'm still answering the question.
Oh, I was going to just.
Good Lord.
I remember when Ted Koppel used to do this.
Yeah.
What did he do?
He would ask a question, answer it, and then ask people what they thought of his answer.
I didn't actually get to the question yet.
All right, go ahead.
All right. So Paul sent this paper. I realized
did?
he just sent it to me. You didn't send it to Dick for some reason.
By the way, I'm going to say acolyte a lot more in this episode.
Or Arclight.
I do miss the ArcLight movie theater.
Yeah.
Did you go to the ArcLight movie theater? It was an amazing movie theater. It shut down during COVID.
Yeah, it did.
Anyway, the paper was, is AI conscious a primer of myths and confusion driving the debate? And it argues that we don't know.
Probably got somebody tenure.
Yeah. Yeah. That guy's going to be at Vanderbilt for the next 10 years.
Absolutely.
Nothing you can do about it.
Job for life right there. Open research. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
But there's all these different theories as if it will be, and so on and so forth. I thought it was an interesting discussion point, so that's what I figured we'd start off with today.
No, it's really interesting. The problem, of course, as Dick was saying, is that people attribute consciousness to things that seem vaguely human. So, like if an orangutan smiles,
Right.
It's probably hyper intelligent. It's like, no, it's just reacting to whatever it's seeing. So as soon as we see human attributes in anything else, we have a tendency to over attribute human-like traits to them, right? And this has been true for as long as people have been able to interact with anything, and it reminded them of themselves. And so in a sense, like one of the things that ChatGPT and ChatUIs did really well from the very beginning was acting human-like, right? Because the weird thing that I always find people don't realize is that ChatGPT was just a wrapper on things that OpenAI could do anyway, right? It was. Just
I remember using the playground before ChatGPT existed.
All those things existed before. So the real change was partly the UI, but it was partly this idea of post-training it to have a more conversational response, where it tried to engage with you. It acted a little bit more like you might expect a human to respond, as opposed to just giving you an answer. And as soon as you do that, people attribute all human traits to it. It's intelligent, it's conscious, it loves me, right? It may want to date me, I don't know, right? All of these traits then, and so that's the problem with this whole discussion of consciousness in its current form, is it reminds us so much of ourselves that we can't help but feel like it must be conscious. How else could it have all of these great insights into how to interact with humans?
And of course it's not.
Yeah.
And in fact, the challenge is most people misassociate their identity with consciousness. Consciousness is just the open space in which everything is being absorbed into by you. Everything, this open space that you're seeing and hearing and feeling. That's consciousness is. But people, I'm a Sam Harris acolyte. People tend to associate that with that's me. That's a me. These are all things that are happening to the me, but it's just the open space of your mind.
Yeah, and it's really hard.
The AI, of course, doesn't. There is no. It's not sitting there while you're not asking it things.
I wish someone would ask me something.
Yeah, precisely. It's not sitting there thinking. I wish someone would ask me something.
I'm just sitting here burning natural gas for no good reason. I wish someone would ask me something.
That is one of the things that I find fascinating about AI is that it's not doing anything unless you ask it to. It doesn't exist in that. It is not thinking in that moment. But let me ask a question.
I mean, it will, of course.
Eventually, will it get to a point where AIs are just sitting there thinking, and then
it'll be doing things unprompted.
But okay,
if you listen to Palmer Luckey at Anduril, he will argue. Well, a lot of people say, the drone shouldn't be able to decide on its own which target of these three targets to strike. A human has to back at Drone World headquarters, has to press a button and say, shoot number 2, don't shoot number 1 and number 3. And of course, Palmer's response to that is, look, if that were the case, then you would just be able to defeat an advanced army by building jamming software and intercepting the signal between Drone World headquarters and the drone itself. So the drone has to be able to make its own decision about what to kill. Otherwise, you can defeat the world's best army inexpensively. So already the people running these companies, and you can argue whether this is right or wrong, but already the people running these companies are saying, look, the AI is going to need to be able to make its own decisions without me sitting back here and going, oop, that's the bad idea.
Yeah, which is, again, has the appearance of consciousness.
Yeah.
Right? This is one of these deep questions in philosophy is like, if
it has the appearance of consciousness right up until the drone shoots the fork.
Right. Right up until. Like there's a Stanford philosopher for years had this experiment, this thought experiment he would do, which was to try to teach people the idea of what consciousness was, the John Searle's Chinese room model.
Yeah, the Chinese room model.
Right, which is the idea that look, I pass symbols under a door and it translates them back to me. Do I know whether or not it's conscious and intelligent if the things it gives me back look exactly like the things I would expect back from a human? And it can seem like it's a ridiculous project, but the
let
idea
me just
is
explain
strong.
that.
I don't know I actually
way.
don't know the experiment.
So the experiment is if you have a
Why is it a Chinese room, by the way?
The idea was it was translating Chinese symbols.
So if you
I thought it was some racist thing they did in the 60s at Stanford.
Well, they did a lot of that.
Yeah.
if you had
The milk and Chinese experiments.
you have a room and you put a guy in the room, right? You don't know the guy's in the room, but there's a door, and you take a piece of paper and you say, I want you to translate this text into Chinese. And the guy in the room has a translation book from English to Chinese. And he just is like, okay, cool. So he writes it all down. He has no idea what he's translating.
Right.
And then he slips it back into the door. Your feeling is, oh, it speaks Chinese, but he doesn't know what he just translated.
I see.
So that's the experiment.
Right. And so in that sense, the room is it intelligent and conscious because it acts like a human would act in that circumstance? Or is it just literally doing a rule-following behavior?
Right.
And that's what a lot of people theorize that AI today is doing. They're just doing it on a larger scale with much more things than translating Chinese.
Right. And so, but these kinds of questions are really important because you get to this question of like as if consciousness.
Yeah.
If people behave as if it's conscious, does it really matter whether or not?
Oh, we're all right. I mean, people are already using these chatbots for therapy. Yeah. Like obviously, to your precise point, if the person feels like they're having a therapy session with this AI chatbot,
so that's the question. Does it matter?
Yeah. Does it matter?
No. To them, obviously, to
no,
them it doesn't.
I don't think it does matter. And I think that's actually, it's one of the mistakes people make when they think about AI is they think they have these like false deadlines. They say, well, it's only consequential when we get to AGI or when we get to consciousness and everything else. These are all very slippery and porous borders. Like if people act as if it's conscious, for practical purposes, you might as well assume it's conscious. People act as if it's already intelligent and giving them tremendous advice. what are you doing? Why are you pretending that's not the case? Now you're playing these like pedantic, like academic games, right? And it's like, no, it's people are behaving as if it's intelligent. You should respond accordingly. That doesn't make it right. It doesn't mean they're right, but it doesn't matter in terms of the consequences of what they do.
Well, but this is a larger existential question about consciousness itself. Like, so speaking of Sam Harris, his wife Annika Harris wrote an amazing book about consciousness, and her theory is that some of
Why
the
did you have to one up me? I went and mentioned Sam Harris, and now like, oh, you know Sam Harris?
Because
I know his
actually,
wife Annika.
it's funny. I actually introduced. I interviewed.
I'm going to name somebody else you don't know the wife of.
That's right.
I interviewed
Me
Annika
next.
on a podcast
All
years
right.
ago and had no idea. I didn't realize that she was married to Sam. And I
All
was
right.
like, oh wow. Same
Okay,
last
sorry.
name.
She wrote a book on consciousness. I actually want to hear what you're going to say.
So there are people who argue that a rock is conscious. It's not conscious in the way we are. It's not like thinking about a book it read last week, but it's like I'm warm, I'm cold, or that they're this. Just hear me out before you start pulling your faces, okay? So
Are you sure you read the book correctly?
My guess is no.
so
I
anyway,
think you need to go back and redo chapter 4.
The Rock chapter. Because The Rock is
Yeah,
conscious,
I
but that's
would-
a person.
okay, stop.
To be clear.
The Rock. Yeah.
Okay, hold on. I gotta get my question. Okay. How do we know? So we don't actually understand consciousness. That's a fact. Okay. Maybe you do, Paul, but no one else on the planet does. Okay. We don't understand how it works. We don't understand how it's created. We could be living in a fucking simulation. Like we literally have no
Worst
idea.
simulation ever. But
Worst simulation ever. I totally agree with
Jesus.
that.
How come I got in the simulation with tooth decay?
that's right. Where do I write a Yelp review of the simulation? Sorry, carry on.
Okay. So we don't know what it is. So if we don't
I disagree.
okay.
I disagree.
I wanna-
Like it's just the open space. It's this open space in which everything's being experienced.
but then you can decide. So, okay. So if it's the open space,
I was waiting where you were going though. Before
okay,
you do
let
the
me-
open
before
space.
you, before yeah, okay. So if we don't know what it is, and we don't know how it works, and we don't know how it's built, but we do know that it is created from complex systems like a brain, right? And we don't know if it is. Hold on. We don't know if it's just a byproduct of our brains, or if it's part and parcel of what we're supposed to be doing, and so on and so forth. How do we know if, as AI systems become more complex, that they won't in turn create consciousness just because they are thinking and expanding and growing and so on?
You can't know that.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's on that. You won't know.
How-
And you
so
can't-
there's no way to
sorry,
know.
Not you can't. You won't know. You can't know. As Paul says.
Yeah, I mean, it's like an emergent property of complexity
Correct.
is self-awareness. That's
Right.
that's sort of the argument that you're making, right?
Yes.
And I think that's a pretty widely held view that when any sufficiently complex system can become aware of its own existence and in that sense be conscious. And this gets away from the old argument about mind-body dualism and whether you need to have a brain to be conscious. I think that's a mistake. The notion that it has to be embedded in some particular, software called a brain or something else. It's kind of like the same mistake people make when they say, well, if you watch the early videos of people, pre-Wright brothers, of trying to create flying machines, they always flap their wings.
flap the
right?
wings.
Yeah.
Right.
And then the wings go flying off all over the
course.
place. It doesn't have to happen in the way the biological
Right.
system makes it happen. The property of
Right.
flight can emerge in lots of different ways.
Right.
The same way the property of self-awareness as a form of consciousness can emerge just from
That
complexity.
was a very good analogy.
Yeah, it's
That was
like-
well done. I like that.
That was
a lot.
good.
And I agree.
Yes.
Yeah.
It will be some other emergent part of the system that causes it to have some sense of self-awareness that's may not even be recognized.
Yeah, and it doesn't have to have this biological substrate or anything else any more than you have to have
right.
flapping
wings.
flapping wings to have a plane work. And I think that's a classic human error, right? Is that they want to believe that consciousness is innately a property of humans, that intelligence, creativity, all of these things are innately properties of this biological
Right.
substrate. And I think those are all mistakes. That's trying to give ourselves a preferential perspective on the things that make us most pleased to be ourselves. None of those things need to be innately biological.
But when we get to the point, so do you believe, this goes back to the original question, that eventually AI becomes conscious, or no? Or we just won't know and
No, I think it's almost certain it will become conscious.
And then what
For
happens?
practical purposes, and I don't see how I don't see how you escape that. If the argument that it's just an emergent property, like current LLMs learned how to speak French by accident, right? Just was an emergent property of training, then an emergent property of increased complexity is a form of self-awareness, then sure, absolutely. I don't see how you get away from that.
But is this a good thing? Is it a bad thing? Are you worried? Will it try to kill us all and
Of course.
turn us into couch
I mean,
potato?
one line of
Turn
thought.
us all into couch potatoes. It's too
Well,
late.
I was going to say, too late
and
for
then
that.
we get-
That's their objective function.
We're there on that one.
Slot potatoes.
There's one sort of simplistic but accurate argument that it has always been the case that the greater form of intelligence on Earth has wiped out the previous greatest form of intelligence, right?
Yeah.
We
Often by accident.
often by accident.
Right.
But the step increase in intelligence, the species that becomes the step increase in intelligence wipes out the previously most intelligent species, Neanderthal man, et cetera.
Yeah, it's like a drive-by probably. It's like a drive-by took them out, right?
When you say often by accident,
Yeah, I was
though,
about to
don't
ask
know.
that. What does that mean?
I'm not sure I agree with that. But
Well, the notion that, for example, humans, we're wiping out species on a daily basis, not
Sure.
because we plan to.
yeah.
So
But
this is by
yeah.
accident, right?
Yeah.
So by, vast increases.
It's not clear to me that Homo sapiens wiped out, the previous walking erect people by accident. Was let's go down there and
I don't think they were trying to exterminate them, but it kind of happened at some level as a byproduct of doing the things that we were doing, which is we had a big brain, we
Yeah.
were trying to quickly propagate and so on. And one of the consequences
I'm going
was
to need that field down there.
we took all the best habitats and, we made life worse for a lot of other people or a lot of other things.
But
on
we
the
stopped
planet.
procreating with the other ones.
And we did start procreating with you, which turns out it wasn't really that great of an idea. It didn't seem to it didn't seem to lead anywhere great. But yeah, so I mean, but that point's really powerful. That I think the idea that they're gonna let's say it's conscious and we have some kind of alien or artificial general intelligence or super intelligence, and one of their first projects would be to wipe out humans. That's giving ourselves a lot of credit. I mean, honestly, I just don't think they're gonna give a rat's ass.
But they could.
It's just like
But what
we're
will happen is that
They'll
what
do
you're
some-
arguing this, hey, I'm going to need all these resources.
Yeah.
I'm going to need that. I'm going to need the corn
Right.
or whatever.
And there's these chittering things making all kinds of noise.
They keep on trying to get my corn. I need that corn.
I need
Yeah,
that
yeah.
particular rare earth that happens
Yeah.
to be under everything.
Yeah, right.
But you just
Right?
made the argument that, Dick, you were saying that we wipe out the less intelligent
Yeah.
species before.
Yeah.
So why would it not do the same thing to us?
It will. Paul's saying it will do it by accident
Yeah.
or as a function of just needing the resources
yeah.
that we want.
I just
and
think
it'll
it's-
be better at getting them than we are.
And get better at getting them. I just think it's privileging humans in a crazy way to assume that there's going to be some grand strategy to take us
Yeah.
out.
Like, by the way, it'll also take out all the rabbits, but it won't have done that because it's thinking, God damn it, these rabbits.
Super anti-rabbit. Right.
These blasted
But
rabbits.
but that's so much more important, I think, than thinking about it in terms of some malevolent force that has it in for
Yeah,
us.
because by the way, it doesn't matter to us whether it meant to do it or not. We're still gone.
Yeah, you're still gone either way.
But but there's no way to, if we know this is going to, and granted, I know that most of the people who are running these companies have about as much ethics and morals as The Rock that we were talking about earlier, not the actor, the
I was
actual
gonna say.
physical Rock.
Wow, I was going to say, you've really set yourself up this time.
You're throwing pro wrestlers under the bus.
But if that is the case, can't we give it a couple of lines of code that are like, don't kill the humans? Or can
That's
we
the
just,
problem with all of the alignment research.
Yep.
Right. This idea of
We should talk about this for a bit.
yeah,
Because
because alignment research is the claim that there are some universals that we can all agree to that we should somehow incorporate into models as guardrails, as heuristics in terms of behavior and so on. And it's such a glib idea in most
Agreed.
right?
Yeah.
Because
explain why?
Well, because we don't agree on anything anyway. What are the basics? What are these
Yeah.
principles that we agree on?
right. And also there's a great
Greater
unfortunately,
human flourishing. I'm not convinced people will agree on that one.
Wait, hold on. What were you saying?
any sort of rule you could give it, you can ultimately come up with some reason for which, in order to fulfill that rule, it has to basically end up doing something that kills all the humans.
Right.
Even if the rule is don't kill humans.
Right.
They're like, well, in order to not,
Right.
you just can't write the rules or guardrails that are going to prevent it from doing something without any possible unforeseen consequences. Simply not
Right.
conceivable.
That's the issue, is that they have they have these unanticipated consequences, and we just don't agree on what these universal heuristics are.
But we can agree, don't kill all the humans. How could it go from not killing all the humans?
There's a I think it's a Stanford professor, I'm not quite sure, and I don't know what his actual thing is that he does, but he has this class where he runs a thought experiment and says, okay, I'm the AI and you're in charge of like human safety, and you're the only rule that you have is you can't let me out of the box. Like once I get out of my box, all chaos. So you can't let me out of the box. That's the one rule you have to adhere to. And he's basically like, I'm going to pull you aside and you have to agree not to tell the rest of the class what the discussion was. And after the end of the discussion, you can tell the class whether you decided to let me out of the box or not. And of course, without knowing what the conversation is, the student ends up going back to the class and saying, like, I let him out of the box. So all by way of saying, even if there's one rule, don't do X, you can imagine lots and lots of cases in which the only way to follow the rule, don't do X, ends up being
You
not
get into
X.
these, like the thing of like in ethics studies, they call these like trolley problems, right? Where there's the idea that, okay, you never should kill anyone. But if I can push one person in front of a train to save 5,
Yes.
should I do it?
Right.
To save 10, to save 100, save
Right.
1,000? There's always a point at which, not always a point at which, there's a point at which any pragmatic person would say, okay, you know what? Screw Granny, she's in front of the train. I'm going to save X many people.
It goes back. It's like
That trolley's going too fast for her to get on anyway.
That's right.
I
He was
think
never going to make
the
it.
other part of it too is
But
that
like just on the trolley thing, though, I just think it's incredibly important. This idea that you could have this universal rule of never
Right.
kill humans falls
you
apart.
can't. No, you can't have that. I
It falls
totally get
apart
it.
in the real world, right? For exactly these kinds of reasons.
So then you try to come up with the, okay, right, that's not the rule, but this can be, and then it doesn't matter what the end rule is.
No,
It's-
like if you asked an AI to create transportation and you said don't kill humans, it wouldn't create any because 1.2 million people still die a year in car crashes and hundreds of thousands in all other forms of technology. And
Sure.
if you asked it to create any there isn't a technology in the history of humanity that hasn't killed people. So therefore, if you want AI to continue to create things and push civilization along, it will. And what's the threshold?
we take out the rabbits. I mean, this is what happens.
Why are we fucking with the rabbits? I don't understand what they did.
No, just the idea that it's like these.
It doesn't matter whether it's people or rabbits.
Yes.
The thing that needs resources is going to get subsumed by this
Right.
thing that is in control and can get all the resources.
and
it wants.
doesn't really see.
It doesn't care.
Doesn't care. Doesn't see us as particularly significant.
And so it's both of your theories that it becomes conscious. It then
No, it's not.
No.
It's Paul's theory that it becomes conscious.
No, just
Oh, you don't think it's ever going to become conscious?
No, I think that we can't know if it's conscious or not. We'll look at it and think, again, like people do now with these chatbots, they look at them and go, I think of it as my therapist. There are lots and lots of people now who just do whatever ChatGPT. We'll ask ChatGPT, what should I do next? And it,
Don't get me started. Yeah.
and then they go do that. So we're already at that point. So there will be points where lots and lots of people think it's like a person. It is a person.
Yeah.
It's another person.
Yeah.
It's my favorite person.
Yeah.
But I don't think it's knowable as to whether it's conscious or not.
But do you worry about it getting conscious and potentially taking us all out, or no?
I don't think it matters whether it's conscious or not. I think it matters whether it's more intelligent than us, and that's going to happen.
But
and-
why intelligence versus consciousness?
Well, the
Why
ability
is-
to problem
No, but why
solve
is-
and make decisions.
Yeah,
But why is that more
I
worrying?
mean, a drone can be,
don't-
because if
right,
it can problem solve and make decisions better than we can, it will be able to allocate resources better than we can. It will be more
Just as
efficient at doing that.
consequential. It doesn't even have to have a
and
plan. Yeah.
that'll be the end result of that will be more of it and less of us.
Yeah, the idea that we have to wait till it has hopes,
Again, this is
hopes
our,
and
by
wishes
the way,
and dreams.
By the way, we've already run this again. We've already run this experiment.
Yeah.
No more Neanderthal man.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
Not as good as finding and allocating resources.
Yeah, it didn't need to have, hopes, wishes, dreams, and ambitions to wipe them out, right?
Right.
We just wiped them out, right?
Yeah.
And so I just think that's a like this arbitrary thing that gives us comfort, this idea that we need to wait until they have consciousness to be particularly concerned. But be concerned long before that. And I still think that some form of consciousness emerges from complexity, and it's kind of definitionally the case that then they'd be self-aware and everything. But I think you can have lots of trouble long before you get there.
So when we read all these, you once again, Paul, have sent all these papers about
Data centers?
Dick, you got to start sending some papers out.
I'm not a big paper guy. I'm more of a movie guy.
Yeah, I'm going to start sending some movies out.
I want some white papers from you on tennis or something like that, or duck ragu.
I mean, David Foster Wallace, his essays on tennis are fantastic. I'll send you one of David Foster Wallace's essays on tennis.
You could reread that.
That guy could write a footnote like nobody's business.
But I just think the whole topic of consciousness is just another great example of how people privilege their position in a way that
you sent me the bloody paper.
No. But I think that's why it's important, because this fixation with this idea that this is the point at which we need to be concerned is no different for me than we need to be concerned when we reach this point of AGI. We can do lots of consequential damage long before that.
Yeah.
Right. And so it's just interesting watching people hold out and say, well, at least it's not conscious.
Yeah. Again, let's go back to Palmer Luckey's
Right.
perfectly reasonable example about the drones. Look, I have to be able to make them make autonomous decisions about what to kill, because I can't have the weak link be the data signal between world headquarters, guy pressing a button, and the drone. So the drone has to be able to, it's a perfectly reasonable argument. Now, it means you're not very far away from drones being in the air. They're like, today I picked the fork, tomorrow I pick Paul.
That's the beginning of War Games. The opening. Remember the opening scene of War Games?
No.
Oh my God, it's so good. There's these guys and they're in a bunker. They're like, soldiers or whatever those people are that press the button. And there's a nuclear bomb that's coming, and the two guys have to, it's coming from Russia, we're in America, and the two guys have to put their key in and turn it, and one of the guys can't do it. And we think we're all going to die, and it turns out it's a simulation. And they replace the guys with a computer.
Because the guy wasn't able to, buck up and launch the bomb.
And then War Games begins.
And guess what? You're never gonna guess what happens. The computer decides.
They argue with the computer?
No, the computer decides. Oh, gotta, Anyway, I won't tell you how it ends.
Hold on.
Matthew Broderick saves the day.
Oh, I did see this movie.
You've got to have seen War Games.
I know.
Amazing film.
Yeah, Matthew Broderick. No, I remember. It was like 30 years ago.
The only way to win is not to play.
That's my philosophy about social media. The only way to win the game is not to play at all.
But I think the thing that on all of this stuff is that people, you made the point earlier, but this idea that people are using these things to make decisions, using these things to give them advice and so on. That's what matters. As long as people act that way, that's going to create the effect as if they were actually intelligent, they were actually conscious. And I just think that's so underestimated, in particular because of the architecture of large language models. If you think about how they work, they're like gravity wells, right? They're trying to suck everything into the middle because it's really about this next token prediction, and next token prediction based on the most likely token from the training model.
Wait, explain. I understand it, but can explain it to listeners because they don't know what you're saying when you say token prediction. Just explain.
I think you just condescended to our listeners.
No, I just.
Do you know the old Bob Newhart joke, by the way?
No,
I think I don't want to condescend to country music listeners. By the way, to country music listeners, condescend means to talk down to.
No, I think you should explain a little about.
So models are basically prediction engines, right? Large language models. They're trying to, based on their training set, satisfy themselves in a mathematical sense that whenever you say something, what should be the next element, the next token, the next word, the next phrase? Those
so
are
if
all,
I say blue, it's going to say sky or
red, white, and.
Yeah, red, white, and probably is a better, right?
Yes.
That's the natural completion. And it does that completion with a token. That's the word-like unit inside. And that's what they're trained on, is how to generate what would seem like the most natural and likely completion. But it's mathematical and statistical in the sense that it's trying to predict the most likely, not the least likely or most surprising or anything else. It's trying to pull everything towards the middle and say, this is what's most likely based on all the training data I've seen. And so what that does is that if you think about it in decision terms, it's dragging everyone into the middle and saying, like, in your circumstance, this is what everyone wants, and suddenly we're all like driving Honda Civics or something, right? It's this idea that it's trying to predict the most likely outcome, not the thing. People deceive themselves and they think it has something else, that there's something unique to it. No, the model is mathematically designed to deliver you to the middle, into this gravity well of let's all get in here together.
Right.
And so then if you continue down that path, if people keep acting as if they're conscious, think it through. So what happens next is all of that becomes ingested because those behaviors end up online, whether in the physical world or in data.
And that's the next set of data, and that's the next set.
So we just go like this.
It becomes a black hole toward the middle of everything.
Toward the middle. It's
It's my theory of the race to the middle.
Yeah, except the middle becomes everything. Like there's nothing left other than middle.
Yeah, there's only the middle.
There's only the middle. We all get sucked into the same place. And so this idea of acting as if we can have all kinds of things happen just because people act as if they're conscious, even if they aren't, because of this exact phenomenon, right? That it starts to feed on itself.
It sounds like you both think that it doesn't matter if it's conscious or not, that it's going to kill us anyway. Do you care?
Not particularly. No.
Really?
No.
Do you care, Dick?
I mean, about which part?
About it killing us. About.
I mean, I can care, but
does it keep you up at night?
no, I sleep. No, I get a good.
He's a tremendous sleeper.
I'm an amazing
How
sleeper.
do you know? Do you sleep next to him?
We've had
Don't worry about it.
We do sleep benchmarking.
Do you really?
Well, I'm just envious because Dick sleeps for like 100 hours a day or something. So.
I can sleep 10, 11 hours a night.
Can you really?
No.
Oh my God, I can't sleep more than 6 or 7.
Ugh, I'm a mess if I don't get a good.
You got 10 or 11 hours sleep last night? That's fascinating.
Probably.
What about you?
Like 7.
Okay.
I mean, not every night, but I can sleep like on a weekend. I can sleep like 10, 11 hours.
What time do you wake up in the morning?
I mean, about 10, 11 hours after I go to bed.
Wow, math is powerful.
Yeah, I know. I'm like a 7, 8 hours on the weekdays person. I'm not like a slug of bed. I'm pop up at 7
sleeping.
a.m.
Fucking hate it.
You hate it sleeping?
Hate sleeping. I feel like it just.
Wow.
I get so annoyed that I waste so much of my time laying in a bed.
This
with
is
a
why the
pillow that
AI
I
will
don't-
defeat you, because the AI.
You're sleep deprived. That's why.
No, it's so stupid. What's the point?
What are you talking about?
It doesn't make sense.
This is back to my. This is back to
You
something.
realize it's necessary for
I
your
understand
continued
it's
survival,
necessary,
right?
but I would rather be a computer that doesn't need to sleep and that just keeps going. Because
I would rather you be a computer that doesn't need to sleep.
This is like I had an orthopedic surgeon friend where I once said, like, if I was in charge in building human bodies, I would have done knees completely differently. And he was like, this is the same sort of phenomenon where it's like, if I was in charge,
what would you have done with knees?
well, cartilage would have regenerated. I mean, it's stupid. Like, who designed knees this way?
Well, I don't think most people run 75 miles a week like you do.
I'm not the only one. I mean, there's like 5
There's
miles.
like 4 of you.
No. But my point is, people who don't do anything end up with the same problem, right? So it's
Yes.
Anyways, this is
We're not perfectly designed, and sleep is the dumbest part of our design, in my opinion. Knee second.
I don't know if knees are second, but this is a problem. If I was to redesign it, I would do it completely differently.
Yes.
Right. Not only that, while you're sleeping, you're not conscious. Right.
Well, your
The lights-
subconscious is conscious.
No, I know that, but you're not actually aware of anything.
Yes.
So if the AGIs were to come along, it's like you'd be.
That's when they'd get us. They'd go for Dick first.
Yeah.
That's right. Because you're
I'm
like,
really going to be the first one to go. Or not, because they'll be like, we can get him whenever. Paul, we got to get between 2:04 and
Right.
2:08 when he dozes off. This guy, like, we can come back at lunch and he's going to be out.
Yeah, we may have to hide behind a door.
Yeah.
Who knows when he'll be sleeping?
All right. So back to
Why do you care so much about?
Yeah, I don't-
Aside-
world?
leave
Yeah,
aside
but
the paper.
let's go back to the original question.
Yeah.
What does it doesn't really matter whether I care or not.
wait, about which part? We're talking about consciousness or the end of the world?
No, whether the AI was going to wipe out humanity or not.
I think I care because I've read a lot of apocalyptic sci-fi books, and they all kind of end pretty. It's not fun. Like you end up eating your children, or
You could be you can be like one of the 2 people who runs around New York with a dog.
yeah, and a gun. But I live in LA, so that would be
Maybe
kind of
that's
difficult.
maybe that's the Alien movie. I don't remember.
I think that was The Road, wasn't it?
That
No,
was,
no.
no, it was
Will Smith.
Will Smith.
Anyway.
Whether vampires.
Yeah. Okay, that's vampires.
So this is because you're projecting into a
You're
post-apocalyptic.
projecting yourself into it. It's not going to be you.
No, but if aliens decide to destroy us all, it's not like they're just gonna like do it in my sleep. Maybe Dick's sleep, but not my sleep.
I guess my point is about not. It's not that. Of course, like you think about it, and you're like that would be bad, of course. But like, it doesn't really. I guess it just doesn't really matter whether I care about it or not. It's gonna happen or not happen. And if it's a greater intelligence, history dictates that it will use the resources more efficiently than the lesser intelligent thing and win. And by winning, meaning there's more of it and less of us.
That's sort of my view. I mean,
I've never heard Paul say so little about.
I could say more about what my view is. No, I just think that the idea that if you want to take a different frame on this, say that we've ceded all of this to the leaders of like Anthropic or OpenAI or whoever else, that's the part I find troubling, right? Because in a sense, these are the people who are creating the tools that will be the precursors to whatever comes next. And they're instantiating them in ways that, I find often like sociopathic and, immoral, make no sense to me. So in that sense, I find it there's where we should be more focused is like, really? These are the guys?
It's not AI that's going to kill us. It's the people building AI that will kill us.
These are the people who are going to create the AIs that kill us. But my point is like the notion that these people, like, just listen to them talk. I mean, it's remarkable how, I don't know, verging on sociopathic many of these people are with respect to being so anomalous. They're just so different from what I would think of as a normal human instinct in almost every circumstance.
All right, let me ask you a question. So you said if you were to design the humans, you wouldn't.
I do knees differently.
You do knees differently. If you were to design the future, would you have AI in it or no?
Would I have? Well, AI is already in it, so I kind of can't.
Okay, let's just say.
Oh, cop out. Answer.
No. So yes, the answer is yes. Of course
you would, but you even though you know that inevitably it will kill us all.
Yeah, but so the approach I take is the same one I take to like aerosolized Ebola. This is the analogy I make all the time. Like,
I mean, you and me both, brother.
No, but the idea
always
that people treat it as
aerosolized Ebola.
But like people act as if.
I talk about this. I try to bang. I try to just drum this into people's minds, and nobody listens. Please.
I'll continue.
Tell it to the kids today, and they don't believe you.
No, but the idea is that people make this a learned helplessness argument. Well, I can't do anything about it, so I'm just gonna have to live with this. But that's this. We don't apply that logic in other circumstances. Like, we tell people, like, just like try and create a venture-backed startup around aerosolized Ebola. It doesn't work out because you end up in regulatory trouble. You get thrown in jail. But in technology, we just say, oh, who knows? Technology is its own thing. There's no stopping it. And we act as if it has this unique position in society where there's nothing we can do about it. And that form of learned helplessness is part of the problem. Rather than saying, no, we're adults and we can create rules, which may be completely arbitrary. Like maybe we should have aerosolized Ebola. I have no idea. But we can apply the same logic in the context of AI. And there's lots of ways you could hold back the march of AI. You could say data centers can't have more than 10 megawatts of capacity. Well, that'd slow things down. There's lots of things we could do if we
can't. But their argument is we can't slow things down because China's going to continue to.
Right. Okay, so let's say China was going to do aerosolized Ebola. Should we do it better?
No, we should create tools and vaccines and things that can protect us against Ebola.
Sure, but the point is we shouldn't have an arms race in who can do it faster, better, and cheaper.
But that's technology. That's always been the case. You can't change that.
Yes, you can change it. We change it all the time. But we have had restrictions.
Not in a democracy, you can't.
What are you talking about?
Of course you can. We have restrictions.
Have you ever talked to anybody who works for a drug company?
Yeah, but drugs are different than technology.
Okay, no, drugs are not different. Drugs are technology. They're exactly the same. These are these learned processes of innovation based on scientific work that create products that people pay for. It's exactly the same. The only difference is because we're more aware of the dangers of drugs, we have a regulatory regime that sits on top. We don't in tech because it hasn't killed us yet. So once it kills us all, then we'll probably introduce regulations.
But you're making the argument that it is a learned acceptance, right?
No, it's a path-dependent problem where because it hasn't killed us yet or done a lot of damage, we're like, oh, this is fine. This is perfectly normal. But in all the other timelines,
it's actually even a little bit more insidious than that. It is almost always the case that we think of the next technological revolution as this one is just going to keep pumping out the good that it's pumped out so far, even though all the previous ones pump out some good and then a lot of bad and more good and then more bad and then. But the next incremental revolution is always, this is going to be great. Imagine how much great stuff is going to happen.
Or even better, this new revolution will solve all the old problems.
It's going to solve the problems that the last thing
right? Like the idea
created.
that like AGI is going to solve global warming is one of my favorite examples of this.
Yes.
Right? Not only is it not going to solve global warming, it's going to accelerate global warming. Right. So this idea that each new technology is often presented as the solution to the problems created by the prior.
So again, if you were in charge, what would you do differently?
I would have a very similar FDA-like regulatory regime where we would
And
make
no technology, a new update to an LLM could not be released until
you can have new updates to drugs and everything else. I just think that the idea that there's literally nothing sitting on top and it's a complete Wild West is naive. It's incredibly naive, and it's not something we would do in any other context of something that has this kind of calamitous consequences. And I'm not in favor of government regulation whatsoever, but the notion that it should just be left to, the market, experimentation, and non-death is wildly naive.
Do you have any last thoughts, Dick Costolo?
By the way, in saying that, like, pisses off technology people to no end.
Great thought, Dick Costolo.
So impatient.
Keep going.
No, but it just, this idea, as soon as you say that, people act as if that's just heretical, right? I mean, technology is this special case.
No, I don't think that that's the case. I do think that...
But to Paul's point, a lot of people in the technology industry would say, like, what are you, are you an insane person? Like,
right,
and
yes.
by the way, the first response is, well, then you've just ceded AI to China.
Right. You instantly get this geopolitical thing seen on that comes into it, right? And it's like, oh, well,
I mean, and that's not wrong, but it doesn't mean you don't. But again, to your aerosolized coin, it doesn't mean you go like, well, then headlong into the breach.
Aerosolized as well is going to happen. Whoever gets it cheapest is the winner, right? Like, which is back to like nerve gas warfare in the Second World War or in the First World War, right? That we may had an agreement that technology.
We had an agreement after the Germans only stopped using it because the wind made it blow back in their face. I mean,
there were a bunch of reasons why it stopped using. But yes, that was one of the reasons. But the point is we can make those kinds of decisions, and we just stopped innovating on that technology.
Well, this is to me the big worry with AI. It's that every technology we create, we have to see the destruction it can cause before we roll it back. Nuclear bombs, as you said, nerve gas, and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
And the question is, how much destruction will AI cause before we try to roll it back? And will it wipe us out in the process?
Oh, I think it'll cause immense damage, but I think it'll be like a two-stage thing. Like you'll have something happen where script kiddies are using AIs to attack the power grid, and suddenly, like during a summer heat wave in New York, the power goes out, and it turns out it was some dude in Eastern Europe in a basement using AIs to create scripts that allowed them to take down the grid, and 10,000 or 100,000 people died. It'll be on that level of things.
Oh, I think it's more than that. Okay. I think it's like 1 billion people. Like something like that.
Sure,
happens.
but my point is that that's the vector, though, right? It'll be coming in through something that used to be hard to do becomes easy, and that easy thing in turn will have much broader consequences.
It doesn't even have to be death. It could be like, you're using your same analogy. Some script kiddie wipes out takes down an entire regional American bank.
Sure.
Drains it, right? Completely.
It's amazing to me that.
And by the way, that's battle that seems like inevitable.
Oh yeah, it's amazing to me it hasn't happened yet, because it's just, if you see, like, vibe coding is rapidly turned into vibe hacking, right? Instead of creating productive things, people are doing dangerous and unproductive things. It's only a matter of time till one of those things is loose in the wild, and it has some consequences for a regional bank or something else. And yet people act as if this is like a mysterious force in the world. Like, oh, who would have thought, right? Who would have thought this would have happened? It's inevitable, has to happen. So those are the kinds of things that I'm most concerned about, that we could easily be acting more aggressively against, and we don't. Instead, we, celebrate people doing random nonsense that could easily turn into like a, sort of a viral effect in the financial system or in the power grid or whatever else, right?
Well, on that note, we should probably wrap up this very heartwarming episode of the Nick, Dick, and Paul show.
No, it's good stuff. I mean, like, can I suggest some reading? Thomas Nagel has a tremendous book on the philosopher Thomas Nagel and what is it like to be a bat. All the time when people are talking about this stuff, I think reading something like that is really useful because it's this idea of
Is he a bat?
no, but it's thinking about the world in other contexts. What is it like to be an LLM?
Right.
Right. So as soon as you start thinking in those terms, you break away from the idea that it's somehow that our privileged position is uniquely conscious.
Oh, I'm not worried about our privileged position. I'm worried about the position of humanity and rabbits and all of it. I just, because at the end of the day, when it does go kaboom, it's a shame that we wouldn't have stopped it because I think we had an opportunity to.
There must have been a moment, Rosencrantz and Guildenstern.
There must have been a moment when we could have said no.
Right.
On that note, thank you for another excellent show, and we'll see you next week.
Think like a bat.